in connection with this illegal drug trade. The laws violated, according to the complainants, are the Dangerous Drugs Act, in the anti-graft, the revised penal code, and of course the administrative aspect of these cases.
Are you in similar fashion, Secretary Aguirre, investigating all of the police officers mentioned by Mr. Kerwin Espinosa with the same fervor?
That's what they did with respect to, that's what the NBI did with respect to the case filed by them. I believe that should be done also here.
By the NBI or by your office? Medyo kompleto naman
Well,
ang
there must be a
ebidensya.
complaint filed by the NBI or by the police. We have concurrent jurisdiction with the Ombudsman and with the DOJ, but the complainants elected to file the 4 cases with the Department of Justice.
Mr. Secretary, just one more point. Sinabi sa House na panood ko sa TV, binibigyan daw nila ng immunity yung mga testigong tumetestigo doon dahil nag-order na raw ang speaker. May I ask you, what is the legal basis of such order giving immunity, if any?
I think this is Section 4 of Republic Act number 1681, an act providing for a witness protection.
Mr. Secretary, I'm familiar with the law. If that's your basis, my question is, under that law, the Speaker and Senate President may recommend to the Secretary of Justice the admission of any person to the program. Magre-recommend po lamang sila. You can say yes or no. Now, during the hearing, I distinctly remember, you were there. And the House member said, the Speaker has already approved his immunity. My understanding of the law is, and you were there.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
My understanding of the law is, when the Speaker or Senate President recommends, it will go through the board, headed by the Secretary of Justice. The former Secretary of Justice is nodding his head, Senator Drilon. And I have one more former Secretary of Justice to my left. And then, you will now decide whether or not to admit him. And under the WPP law, such admission will have the effect of either excluding him in the information, or if one has been filed, your prosecutor will seek his exclusion via being a state witness with the consent or permission of the court. But, you must issue a certification of such admission to the WPP. At that time, Mr. Secretary, based on what I saw on TV, wala pa naman hong certification kayo. In fact, you did not answer with respect to your admission. I forget if it's only the Secretary or if it's a board that decides it. The Secretary. If the Secretary decides to admit, the DOJ must issue a certification of their admission to the WPP program. And that's the only time everything will attach. If that is the case, may I ask, was such a certification issued before their testimonies were given? And number 2, if not, how would you perceive it or see it? If the testimonies were given before admission to the program, will it have a retroactive effect?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, we did give a certification. Those witnesses had certification from the Witness Protection Program. They were placed already under the Witness Protection Program. And all of them were approved or were recommended, favorably recommended by the Speaker of the House.
And the approval came after their testimony or before?
Before you, Your Honor.
Kindly furnish us, Mr. Secretary, just for the peace of mind too of those who testified in the House, kindly furnish us with that certification. I'm sure you have a copy. If indeed the dates came before.
We will do that, Mr. Chair. Mr. Senator.
You have to forgive me, Mr. Secretary, because I remember distinctly at that time, the Speaker's recommendation came on the heels of the testimony of one of the witnesses just before he testified. So I would presume, if the recommendation, kung may nitinit pa yung rekomendasyon, eh di siguro naman ho, pupunta muna sa opisina, mag-i-issue ng certification, nandun ho kayo eh. So can we get a copy of that certification, sir?
We will do, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr.
Follow-up question. Just a follow-up question on,
Before we recognize Senator De Lima,
just one question. Does that mean, Mr. Secretary, that all those who appeared in the House who were given your immunity, the immunity under the Witness Protection Program, can no longer be charged?
That's a good question after we did what we did in the House. Because we admonish or we inform the witness that all things that are said, that you said, that has elicited from you in connection with this investigation cannot be used against you. But apparently, the NBI has a different interpretation. As a matter of fact, all those persons who were given immunity were charged before the DOJ, despite the immunity.
With the permission of Secretary De Lima, let us be clear. Are those witnesses excluded from being charged under the Dangerous Drugs Act because of their testimony for which they were granted immunity, or can the testimony not be used in any proceeding because of the immunity granted? Which is which?
The testimony cannot be used. That's under our understanding. And any proceedings against that person.
The testimony cannot be used. But if you do not use the testimony, can you still charge them?
The NBA charged them because of the other witness testimony.
So the NBI charged them. That's the interpretation of the NBI, is that exemption from prosecution pertains only to the inability to use the statements made in the course of the investigation by the House.
Actually, Mr. Chair, the position of the NBI is that despite the grant of immunity, they have still to be charged, and it's up to them later to raise it as a defense, or it is for the court to order that they drop from the from the accused, from the list of the accused. That's the stand of the NBI.
I will not ask for your stand because at this point the question may be raised before you in due course. Or are you willing to take that position, state your position today?
Actually, I will be inhibiting from that proceedings because of what I did in connection with the House investigation hearing. I was the one who conducted the direct, and so I think it's but proper for me to inhibit myself from further proceedings with respect to those cases.
So you will not be called upon to rule on that issue because you will inhibit.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
But then I ask you then, since you're inhibited, what is your view?
My view is that since they were given immunity, they should be given immunity. The immunity must be enforced. In other words, they shouldn't be charged anymore. But that's my interpretation of the law.
That is not binding on the investigating fiscal
That's right.
or the courts.
Or the courts. That's
Thank
right, Mr. Chair.
Thank Mr. Chair.
Senator De Lima, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have questions for Mr. Acoba, for Warden Vardillion, for Police Chief Superintendent Lara, and PCI Laraga. And if PO3 Abellanosa is also here, I would have questions also for him. I understand that PO3 Abellanosa was the deponent in the application for search warrant filed by PCI Laraga. So may I know if PO3 Abellanosa has been invited and is present today?
Yes, ma'am. Nandito po siya.
Nandito po siya.
Comfort room lang
Okay.
po, ma'am.
So kay Mr. Acoba muna po. Mr. Acoba, good afternoon po sa inyo. Your presence there at the Leyte sub-provincial jail at the time of the incident, in what capacity was this? Is it in your capacity as a regular news reporter, or is it because you were one of the designated witnesses for the search proceedings?
Well, Your Honor, I was acting as a news streaker for GMA, and currently I am based in Baybay City. So when my asset told me about what happened with Mayor Espinosa, I went straight ahead that early morning.
Anong
to
oras niyo po
cover-
nalaman tungkol dun sa insidente? So, wala ho kayong prior notice or prior knowledge about that search, about that
yes, ma'am.
operations?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I was informed by my asset about past 5 in the morning. He woke me up while I was sound asleep, and as a good reporter would do, I hurriedly go to the sub-provincial jail. Even though I cannot get any ride, I managed to walk halfway before I can get a ride.
So, anong
to the
oras po
jail.
kayo nakarating sa Leyte sub-provincial jail?
Maybe 5:58 or past 6 o'clock in the morning.
So, hindi po kayo doon as a witness, as the media representative dyan dun sa search, dun sa operations na yon?
Yes, in my believe, they already have their own media, but then they need at least 2 media to represent them in what happened in
So,
the.
naging media representative ka rin in the course of the
Yes, I signed a paper
implementation of the search. You
Yes,
signed a
Honor.
paper.
Yes, sir.
Pero
Your
anong
Honor.
oras po kayo nakapasok? Because if you were meant to be one of the media representatives for that particular operation, so dapat po sa pagpasok pa lang technically or procedurally, dapat lahat ng mga representatives, kasama yung media representatives and the barangay officials, kasama na nung team nung pumasok. Ganun ho ba nangyari o hindi po yun nung ganun nangyayari?
Hindi po, Your Honor.
Why?
Well, nung dumating po ako noon, andun po yung sasakyan ng Soko nakaparada sa labas ng gate ng jail. But the jail gate was open, so pumasok po ako. Doon ko nakita yung mga police and jail guard facing the wall.
So nakita mo yung scenario na yon.
Opo, nakunan ko po ng footage yung part na yon.
And then,
Then, pumasok po ako sa loob and I saw them having coffee dun sa may kitchen ng jail.
yes,
Doon na po ako naghintay hanggang sa makapasok po ako. And,
at that time, alam mo na, or you were conscious of the fact that you are supposed to be one of the media representatives?
not yet.
Not yet. Kailan mo nalaman na media representative ka pala?
Well, pinag-usapan po nila ako kung magko-cover daw po ako ng news, I have to sign as witness.
Pag magko-cover ka ng news, you have to sign as witness. So did you sign as a witness? At kailan ka nag-sign as a witness?
Well, nag-sign po ako right after mailabas na yung 2 bangkay sa jail. Mga bandang 10 ng umaga or 11, something like that.
But before that, you were able to take a shot.
Yes, nag-video na po ako once we were allowed by the CIDG and
And
Soko
sabi nga
to-
kanina, napakinggan ko kanina na actually nakapasok ka at you were able to take shots after na pre-nosis ng Soko.
Yes, Your Honor.
And at that time, nung pag-cover mo at pag-take mo ng shots, wala na yung baril or walang baril doon.
Yes, Your Honor. Wala po ako nakitang baril.
May nagsabi ba sa inyo that before you covered it, before you took shots, ay meron supposedly baril na nakita sa tabi ni Mayor?
Wala po naman, pero assuming that nanlaban nga raw po si Mayor, hinahanap ko po yung baril noong time na yon.
So, hinanap nyo.
Opo, nagtatanong
Nagtanong
po
mo
ako.
ba kayo?
Opo, nagtanong
Sino ho
po ako.
mga tinanong nyo?
Well, hindi po sumasagot yung Soko. Tapos sabi nila ang CIDG nasa Soko na yung baril. So, hinihintay ko na lang po na i-present sa akin ng